So welcome everyone. We're missing somebody today. The whole subject of the presentation today was about a pastor, Mr. Devon, who was doing some crazy investing over the summer and picked up two really nice properties and was cash flowing really nicely. And we had to do a switcheroo. So we're going from pastor to professor, and I'll tell you why. It's my fault. I was asking him to come on for Thursday, October 9th, and he told me he had Bible study on the 9th that he had to come on Wednesday or the October 8th. But I miscommunicated that to all the people who set up my emails and marketing. And, it turned out we can't skip Bible study, right? So luckily, our November guest, Mr. Kayan, was available, and Matt is a professor. So, we're impromptu titling this from pastor to professor. And instead, Matt's going to share his story that he was supposed to share in November, and we'll get the pastor um, in November, early December. So Matt, I met Matt through our daughters becoming friends at the local school here, and he was interested in real estate investing. So we talked just like I've talked to most people here about what your goals are, what you want to accomplish, how you want to do that. And we landed on a strategy, and Matt was able to take action. And similar to actually Devon the pastor, he bought two properties sort of back to back, but did some conversions and some burr strategies. And I don't want to spoil the story. I want to let Matt tell it. So that's what we got tonight. So thanks for putting up with the switcheroo. But Matt, thanks for being here.
No worries.
So
Thanks for having me.
I, yeah, no problem. And so tell us where you're a professor at York University, correct?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Sydney, Australia.
Really? Tell me, I
Yes.
didn't know.
And so I, of course, came over to Canada for the weather. Um, and yeah, so I was only supposed to be here for a year. That was 20 years ago. So
Yeah.
more than 20 years ago now. So yeah, no, I came over. I got involved in some larger projects. An opportunity came up for a professor position. We had a lot of funding for these projects. I figured I'm over here. Um, you know, why not? I may as well make use of this while we have this opportunity. And then yeah, and then I ended up settling down, starting a family, going through plenty of drama. I have four children now. So,
Wow.
the time has gone really quickly. And yeah, so I started at downtown at Ryerson University, or now it's called TMU, I believe, but then I shifted over to York. And yeah, I'm a computer vision researcher, actually. I'm one of these AI people, one of the ones responsible for all of this.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and so I shifted over to York because they had quite a strong um, vision group over there. Um, and then I had moved around the city. Um, I was living downtown at first, and then I had moved out to Richmond Hill area, and then the enjoyed the struggles of commuting to downtown during winter at that time, and my wife at the time, like we moved a couple of times. We moved closer into the city. We had an opportunity to do that. And then we moved out to Oakville area, mostly for work for my wife at the time. So, um, yeah, and then yeah, I traded one commute for another one. Um, Getting across Toronto is just a nightmare, I've decided. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I guess traffic is worse here than Australia.
yeah. Well,
Okay.
Sydney's pretty shocking, to be honest, because it's built around a natural waterway, so there's not a lot of space. There's a lot of space here, but for some reason the roads just yeah,
Don't make sense.
don't make any sense. Yeah, so
Okay, so
yeah,
I think you're a typical, profile. You're working, you have a good job, you're making money, but there's also a lot of expenses with families and kids and houses and mortgages and everything else. And I think at some point, I mean, don't let me put words in your mouth, but to summarize, you're like, how do I get ahead, or how do I plan for retirement, or how do I stop working one day? Am I correct?
Right. So I mean, I had been thinking about that before I came to Canada. Um, I'd been around a lot of entrepreneurial types back in Sydney, and yeah, I'd read Rob Kiyosaki and these books, like when I was young. And but I was always studying and always in university situation. I sort of didn't really put my head up until much later. And then I hadn't even originally it wasn't my plan to be a professor, but what I did enjoy was working with startups, and I saw that there was an opportunity to do that and have some flexibility with my time. But always in the back of my head, I was restless and thinking, um, I knew that the baby boomers were going to hit, and I was thinking, even though this type of position may have some flexibility and have some what people might believe is a good pension at the end of the day, I always sort of came at it thinking, that maybe that's not going to be there. Like
Mm,
I can't really, I didn't really have a lot of confidence that is going to continue to be there by the time I get to that point.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
was
I
always
agree.
thinking about investing and real estate. Oh, we had some Greek members in the family who had already always put all their money into real estate, and so I knew real estate could work. And then I had accidentally sort of um, become an investor unwittingly by virtue of moving many times while I was in Toronto. And when we had moved, we didn't sell our house. We decided that, that all happened so quickly that we thought, we can't sell yet. It's too, we're going to lose money if we sell. And so we tried to hold on, but I guess the term that I would use is that I was comfortably broke. Comfortably broke, I had some assets, but I always felt like I was treading water. So even
Yeah.
even at a decent income, I felt like I was treading water. So
Yeah, I mean, I forget all the studies they did, but it seems like humans, we just spend what we make. If you make 100 grand, you spend 99. If you make 300 grand, you spend 301. So, I mean, you're not the only one. It seems we seem to adjust our lifestyles based on the kind of income we have, right?
mhm.
But I think that's why a lot of us get involved with investing. And I know for sure one, two, three, four, five, six, seven of us here are definitely involved with real estate because I helped them do it. Um, but for those of us, listening, wanting to do more, or trying to understand kind of what your mindset was, like, yeah, you said you had some family or some Greeks who in your family who were invested in real estate. You read some Robert Kiyosaki books, like the books on my shelf. But what was it like when you got to that point and you're like, okay, screw it, I got to do it. Like, what was the straw that broke the camel's back?
Okay, so there's a bit of a backstory, and like I had some real estate, um, that we'd purchased and then moved and then held on. And then, when we did that, that was the first time I sort of thought about renting. Actually, no, before I bought the first place, we had an opportunity to buy sort of townhouse type of situation, or I think we looked at some link homes. We were trying to find something close to the city. And then we came across a bungalow, and I thought, my first thought of about that was, and I didn't even know what house hacking was, but at the time I was on a contract position. I didn't have a permanent position yet, and my thinking was, well, if I have to go work, if I have to go and take any job because this professor thing isn't working out, I can put someone in the basement. And so I was already thinking that way. Um, and yeah, then we had moved quickly and then started to try and rent, and then we realized we didn't even realize that we had bought a place in Richmond Hill near a decent school because we weren't thinking about stuff. We were just, you know um
Just doing it.
we're just doing it. Yeah, exactly. And And it wasn't until yeah, I started to get people applying for the place that didn't even want to live there. They just wanted the address so they could go to the school. And I thought, oh, okay. So it was
Interesting.
kind of accidental. And then, that happened a couple of times before I met you. And I remember running around. I would go to the properties and I'd be fixing things and stuff like that. And I remember thinking, like, how does anyone scale this stuff? Like, how is there a strategy? Because I never did it with any kind of strategy. And it was when I met you, I thought, okay, there's got to be a strategy here. There's got to be a way that you can scale. And I really wanted to learn what that was. I wasn't in a position to do anything at that time. I had some life things that I went through. Um, but I knew I had to learn how you guys were doing stuff. And
Yeah.
um,
So I remember during our first conversations, like this is a couple of years ago now, like the market was, just I don't want to say just starting, but we were already clearly in a different market where prices had come down and
mm,
things were, wobbly and sideways. So similar to what we have now, except when you started, interest rates were much higher.
mm,
Um, which was interesting. So, it's really similar. It's nice that we have you on this because it's a similar storyline to the pastor. And the reason why I wanted him to come on is he was so persistent about wanting to take advantage of the market being sideways. He saw that as an opportunity rather than as a point of fear to kind of stay away. And that's
mm.
without me kind of coaching him on that because I'm a salesman, I can sell anything, right? But this was coming from him. So what at that point we must have talked about how things were like, we got to be careful. What was it about um, what I said or what you learned or whatever it was that made you want to move forward?
Um, so I had some motivations in my own life that were going on. Um, and without getting into the gory details, I did go through a kind of marriage breakup and everything, and the assets that we had built up. Although they were virtual until realized, I did have this. I had a few steps backwards, let's just say, right?
Hmm.
And that and I was kind of through that process, I was sort of handcuffed, watching what was happening, because it's I guess I had fear because I had bought assets before um,
Hmm.
this, and so the idea of coming in at this time in the market when everything, well, okay, things had come down, but interest rates had gone up, and just looking at like what you could get for what I had experience with was a point of fear for me. I also so I had part of those assets, and um, they had some value in them. And the hardest thing for me was making a decision to disperse disperse that and actually make it work, make
Yeah,
the value work for me instead of
got it.
trying to hold
Yeah.
on to that peanut.
Right,
Um,
that's right. After you split, you came up with some assets, but in order to make them more efficient, we had to sell some to release the equity and
exactly.
then reinvest into stuff that actually makes sense as an investment.
Yeah, and that was a big point of fear for me because um, like I knew I had to do something. I knew it was stagnant. But there was that sort of limbo period in
Yeah,
between selling out of one asset and then the
yeah.
desire to get back into the market and have something up and running. But in the end, it was the right decision to make, and I think the results have sort of already.
That's kind of what I find, and I guess again, I'm a salesman, so don't listen to anything I say, but it
Mm,
seems like when you're on the right path, it's usually scary. And if it's not scary, then probably not the right path for you, right?
yeah,
Isn't that true? When you get uncomfortable, it's usually, where you're learning and growing, right? And if you're not getting uncomfortable, it's probably not going to work out too well. But anyway, So yes, you got uncomfortable multiple
Hmm.
times,
Yep.
and then okay, so then we're here, we have the cash now. Now we're like, okay, let's reinvest it into something that works. And I'll let you explain more, but we decided we're going to do a duplex, but not just a duplex. We're going to do a duplex conversion so we can have get the BRRRR, the buy, renovate, reno, refinance, the value add, you know, uh, strategy going to have maximum benefit. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so yeah, we started looking uh I guess we looked in a number of regions, but we ended up settling on Niagara. I mean, we're looking at a
Hmm.
lot of regions around Niagara, but we actually f- yeah, and we looked at a number of different types of properties as well. We're looking
That's right.
we weren't necessarily I mean, cash flow was important for sure. But unless we could find the right property to do the conversion, we weren't necessarily going to go that direction. But we were looking for that. That would be the ideal
Yeah,
case, to be able to find something like that.
got it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that first property. So, I mean, you don't have to share addresses if you don't want to, but we find a property. I remember it well. Excuse me, a bungalow
Hmm.
that a little bit dated, but on a really good lot. I remember walking in on the lot, and I went to the backyard, and I was like, "Holy, you know what? Like,
Mm.
there's room here to expand. There's room here to have a duplex. There's a separate garage that possibly could be a third unit. Like, take us through that property, what you were thinking, and kind of what you made of it."
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful. I do have some pictures if you like. I don't know
Yeah,
if
yeah.
I
You
can
can
share
share
my
your screen
screen.
whenever you want.
Um, let's see. Can you guys see that okay?
Yeah,
Yep.
yes.
I mean, there's some numbers already, but yeah, you get an idea of the lot there. So yeah, it was a small bungalow, but this lot was on a corner. Um,
Hmm.
and there was plenty of access to, like, if we had to cut another driveway, I mean, there's plenty of opportunities for access to both the upper and lower unit. It was all renovated. Everything was, I mean, it was a bit dated on the top. There was a renovation on the bottom. It wasn't new. Um, but the biggest kicker, I think, for this property was it had the double garage, and the double garage and the building itself were at one end of the lot, which means
Hmm.
you can sort of see in the top photo here that yard went down to the back. Um, it was deceptive. Like we even, I don't know if you remember, Paul, but we initially we thought maybe we could apply and see if this could be severed. That's how
Yeah,
it's sort of illusion that it's a little bit bigger than it was. It wasn't quite big enough to do that, but definitely I was thinking about the possibility of a third unit, right? And that was,
yeah,
I think, made this sort of a no brainer. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the beauty about corner lots is, I mean, you get in most cases you'll get access to that backyard, and if it's deep enough or wide enough, I mean, there's just extra space to play, right? So I like this property a lot. Okay, so what? Keep going. What happened? So we bought it. You got
So
it for 645, and then what?
yeah, so we were on the list because everything had sort of stagnated at that time. No one was really there wasn't much buying activity, right? Um,
Hmm.
and this was in good condition, but we managed to get under purchase price and decided to go for it. And then you helped me get connected with some architects, and I mean the whole goal here was to do the conversion. And so we just got straight into that and got the plans happening and the applications into the city. to deal with that. And then while that was happening, we went and started looking for a second one because I was sitting on the sideline thinking, I'm nervous. Like I've taken money out of the market now. Like I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, and now I've pulled the trigger on half of it. So so
yeah.
um, so it's happening. So like I got to move quickly, right? Um, and so
So
yeah,
what?
yeah.
So
Sorry.
how did the numbers work out on this one?
So on this one, we were quite efficient with, and there wasn't a lot of surprises or anything. Everything was as sort of good condition, and yeah. So I'll just get. I've got a couple of uh, yeah. Is it gonna go? Is it gonna go to the next page? No.
Oh,
All right.
maybe.
Let's
That's
see.
okay. Take your time. Just go and do it manually.
Uh, I don't know why it's doing. Oh, okay. I've got a little presenter control somewhere. Um, geez, I don't like that. I'm gonna turn. I'm just gonna get manually. Yeah.
There you
So
go.
the upper unit still had original floors that they were creaky, but they were in good enough condition. Was sort of making the decision.
Hmm.
Is it worth doing anything up here? So we did a little bit. Um, we did some refresh. Of course for the conversion. We blocked this would be the natural exit through. I don't know if you can see my cursor. Can you see my
Yeah,
cursor?
the kitchen. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
through the
there's a back door entrance and you blocked it there, so the basement
yeah,
will have
that
private.
comes down at the back of the car here.
Yep.
Um, and so we had this like little side yard as well, as well as the big yard. So we had a little bit of space there for a potential basement, some space for them to do something. But anyway, we blocked that off. And then we didn't do we just really repainted, refreshed, and changed the counters, changed the sink, and the kitchen wasn't vented properly. So we had minor things. We ended up pulling out the ceiling fans. Uh, yeah. So and we changed the lights and everything. But we didn't do a lot to the top.
No,
We just sort of
upstairs
refreshed.
was pretty good.
Yeah,
And you had three bedrooms, living
three
room, dining
bedrooms.
room, kind of
Yeah,
an eat-in kitchen there,
yeah.
entrance off the front, parking in the back kind of thing, and
And
a
then
nice backyard.
and the idea was for the upper to keep that uh, a premium sort of offering with all of that backyard and the double garage.
Yep.
So yeah, we did that, and then the basement. The basement didn't look like this when we started, but we gutted it, and that was a fun experience. I mean, I had done renovations before, but I had never gutted to this extent. And while we were down there, originally we had planned to do a renovation, and we were thinking optimistically something in the 80,000 range or something like that. But then I had bungalows before, right? So I knew about the tree in the front yard and the old clay pipes going out and roots and all this sort of stuff. So I ended up deciding to like just redo all of the plumbing. So
Hmm.
once we had dug up and we had to do some of that because we have to do a water upgrade for it, I just decided to do all of it and have that kind of peace of mind.
And
Um,
how much did it all cost?
yeah, so um, the reno ended up coming out with the plumbing and everything to about 130, 132.
Yep.
And yeah, then we went and got it reappraised, and it immediately got appraised at 800 from the
Nice.
645. And yeah, and then over then we filled it. We got some good tenants in, um, and they're still in. They've been in over a year now, and this is the first time I actually used a system to do the filling of the property, and we did some heavy screening on that, and then we got some tenants, and it's the first time I've had tenants, touch wood, that pay in advance. It's like
Yeah.
it's insane. I've never had that experience before, but
When you use a
Yeah,
system,
I'm
it kind of
sure
it
now that I've
works.
said that, and now this is on, this is going to be a video recording somewhere that, you know, but, but yeah, so basically I think our initial mortgage was around about in the high sixes, 6.8, 6.9%,
Mhm.
um, as an investment property that we weren't living in. And we got 2,400 for upstairs and 1,900 for downstairs. They pay their own utilities. And
Yep.
then, so we started off with about, with a mortgage payment of three thousand three hundred or so. We were cash flowing about 400, but then very quickly, because we were at the um, that sort of stressed end of the market, and we had done all of um, our due diligence and planning, um, thinking about, oh, how can this be cash flow positive in that situation, and then maybe it's going to get better. It did get better, and then gradually the rate cuts
Rates.
went down, and I think they're around four. It's in the 4.4 or so now. So we went from a mortgage payment of over three down to 2,500.
Yeah, you're cash flowing $1,200 a month.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
um,
Mhm.
so pretty happy with that. And some of that reno cost, by the way, probably wasn't necessary. I did while I was doing the plumbing, because I was thinking about this property as an opportunity for a third unit, as I went ahead and did the underground work to set up
Yeah.
water so that we could easily tap from the outside to do a
Yeah, but
third property
that
layout.
makes sense. I would say it is necessary because once you got the floor broken, like it's not like you're gonna go and break the floor again if you want to make a third unit. Like once it's broken, you're gonna do that work.
Yeah.
So I think what Matt's saying is like he put in the plumbing and made some connections outside so that when he does want to do a third unit in the future, do the um, garden suite, excuse me, that the connections are already there. You're not going to go back in and break the floor all over again. That would be crazy. But
Yeah.
these numbers are excellent. So this is kind of not exactly what we were projecting, but this was the plan, and it wasn't certainly wasn't a straight line getting there. But in the end, after some, hiccups, it's kind of where we want to end up when we're doing a conversion, right? That's excellent. Like most people don't have $1,200 cash flow in all their properties, and you got that on one property because you did it
Mm.
right. So that's fantastic. And I want you to share this story because I want everybody else here to know that yes, it's a pain in the ass, and yes, a few sleepless nights, and yes, your wife's going to yell at you a few times or whatever, vice versa. But in the end, you can't argue with $1,200 a month and a refinance property, and you're sitting there stable. Like, I mean, it's that's as good of a pension as you can get, right?
Right. And on top of that, because we did the appraisal, and the bank that this mortgage was with allows for the HELOC, we were able to set up a HELOC on that as well.
Yeah.
So without so instead of refinancing, where you would incur a hit on your cash flow, I guess, a small hit on your cash flow because you're reborrowing and now your mortgage is different. Um,
Yep.
we were able to set up the HELOC. So, and the HELOC that we set up can grow to the value of um, your principal that's paid down. So it can just keep growing too. So yeah, like I was pretty happy with the outcome of this one. The Reno probably could have been 120 or less. We probably could have. We didn't really need to redo the plumbing, but I've had past experience, and I know
Yeah. Yeah.
what a pain that would have been to do it after the fact. So since this was a gut anyway, um, I thought, yeah,
That was a smart decision.
yeah,
That was a smart decision. Okay, let's go to the next one.
yeah. So the next one, don't worry, not as many photos, but more stories though. So the next one,
Mm,
all right. So this was an interesting one. We found this and immediately saw that there could be an opportunity for a discounted price here. There was so this property was bigger than the other one, um, about 5 minutes away from the other one, and
Hmm.
it wasn't on a corner lot, but it was a big lot and it had the garage is like a double, but it's a 1.5 depth garage, so it was quite large structure already. Um, so the standout things on this property were okay, it was fully renovated, had a fully it had a kitchen and everything in the basement. The other one was renovated, but it didn't have a kitchen or anything. It was just
Yep.
just rooms and a bathroom, I think. And this one had everything already done. But you could see that there were quite a few repairs that probably need to be made. The owners, yeah, there were things that they had just let go, and clearly they just wanted out. And so we saw an opportunity to get a this property at a discounted price and
Yep. That's good
potentially
money.
turn it around and have a better, even a larger property, larger space, and at least as good, if not a little bit better, maybe than the other one, except for the fact that
Yep.
it's not on a corner lot. So.
Okay.
Um, Yeah, so this one, I'll just jump to the numbers then. So, yeah, do you want the numbers or do you want the war stories?
Oh, let's look at the numbers and then we'll
Okay.
we'll, we'll talk war stories.
Yeah,
Everybody
it's
wants to hear
easier.
that.
It's easier to palette the war stories when once you see. So this one, yeah, there were quite a few repairs. The reno came out. I redid the plumbing on this one as well. So the reno was a bit cheaper, probably 70 to 80 without the plumbing, something like that. But that included a lot of repairs. We had to do some work on the roof. We had to, um, uh, so we ripped up the floors to do the plumbing, and we found pipes that didn't go anywhere. And then we had some issues with the electrical as well. Just someone had had a crack at this thing and hadn't done a very good job. And so there were things that we found. But in the end, yeah, originally we were thinking, oh, the reno is going to be great. This is going to be easy. It's going to be a lot less than the other one. But yeah, little things like we found the air conditioning, for example, the vents. They'd put in the wrong kind of vents. So there are a lot of things that we had to sort of muck around with. But
Yeah.
said it
Our
wasn't.
first mistake was thinking it was going to be easy, right?
Yeah. Like when you see that discount opportunity, it's either if you want to move quickly, uh, it can be it's a harder pill to swallow at the time because you're sort of impatient to move quickly and there's delays. But at the same time, like it is really when you look at the numbers at the end of the day, um, and with this one, even with the Renault at that. We haven't done the appraisal on this one yet because the bank that this one is with doesn't do the HELOC or anything, so we haven't bothered to do that yet. But this should be in the same order as the other um, for the
Hmm.
appraisal. It was worth it. Its appraisal normally would have been more than the other one anyway. We just got it at a discounted price. So we haven't done that yet. But we have converted it to legal duplex. The mortgage started a little bit lower, 3150. We got slightly lower rate on this one, I think, but now it's down around the 2400 mark. And we just filled this one over summer. And so this project took a little bit longer because I was using one crew for both projects and I was doing everything at the same time. And, there's a couple of lessons learned there. I wasn't really in a position to like have several crews come in and, in parallel and do things. And I wanted to learn what the crew could do because I was trying to build those relationships as well for the longer term. And anyway, it worked out. The relationship definitely worked out. And but like by the time we got to filling it, I was anxious again. So I went that, you know, that sort of, you go through these sort of phases of, um, mixed emotions, fear and less fear. And so I would go through these, like when we'd be ready to advertise and fill it, and then it would be this stressful feeling of like, can we find the right tenant? Is it the right time?
Mhm.
And we were trying to fill during summer, and everything just stops, during summer, I guess. And so I was a little stressed, but then everything picked up around, coming into out of August and into September, and then we started to get a lot of activity. But because this one was a little less, and I was stressing, I put the prices down a little bit just to get someone feel, because in my view, like if we're cash flowing the same as the other one, I was happy, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So I put the prices down a little bit just to get this one filled, and then it filled, and then I thought, why did I do that? Maybe I just had to wait a little longer. But either way, we started with a little bit more cash flow when we started taking the mortgage on, and then I mean we weren't cash flowing, but it would have
yeah.
been like the original plan would have been around a 500 cash flow, 550. But now currently it's around 12, 16.
Yeah,
So
that's fantastic. You got
so it,
2,400 bucks, 2,400 bucks between two properties. I mean, you
yeah,
do this two more times and you're at 5 G's a month. I mean, that's a pretty good retirement plan right there. I
yeah.
mean, it doesn't take much to make this stuff go. So I think this is fantastic. You did a great job. I mean, definitely some hiccups, and I know we're skipping a bunch of stories, but we don't have 2, 3 hours here to get into it. But
Mm,
I think that the main message is coming across that if you find a strategy that works and you just dedicate yourself to getting out there and actually doing it, even though there's going to be hiccups, you're going to get to the place you want to be in the end, right? So here's a
mm.
good question from Danny. He's asking you, how do you manage these properties and what are the costs, if any, if you're paying a property manager?
Yeah, so I don't use a property manager. I've managed properties previously. And by manage, I mean like not professionally. I'm an engineer basically. So like when there's something to be fixed, my first thought is like, can I fix it? And just having, um, uh, well, yeah, I'm doing it so far. So far, the we've had some settling in kind of issues, things that weren't quite finished off, and the tenants bring it to your attention pretty quickly. The way we
Mhm.
deal with tenants is we have like a WhatsApp group together with upstairs and downstairs, and then one separately with each of the tenants. And so
Interesting.
they let me know, um, and my wife's on that as well. So like we know immediately if there's an issue. The only issues I've really had is like even with new appliances, I've had new appliances that um, have had issues. And
Of
so,
course.
I'm quickly, as fast as I can get out there, I'm off dropping off like, I don't know, some makeshift fridge or something like that. But apart from that, it's just been, some little issue with a finishing or whatever that wasn't quite done, and we had to go and fix it up. Um, so far, nothing major.
Yeah. And just a note on property management, like, property management is not free. Either you pay with money, and in this case, if you're making $4,200 a month, that might cost you like 250 to $300 if you're paying a property manager, but it frees up your time. And if you're managing the property yourself, you got to think about it like you're paying yourself 200 to 250 to $300 a month, but it's costing you your time and pain in the ass. So
Mm,
you're paying with dollars or you pay with pain in your ass. Like it's just one or the other. There's no escaping it. But if it fits into your routine and schedule, that's great. Like we manage a bunch of properties on our own, and there's several properties that are a bit further away where it doesn't make sense. And yeah, we pay property managers because it would take too much time and effort to do it on our own. Like I just finished building a 6 unit property, and we're still managing that on our own. Like once, especially with a conversion like this, or even more, especially if you built it brand new, like there's nothing to do at the property. Like once they're settled in, like everything's brand new. There's
Mm,
legitimately no maintenance. You set up some systems for landscaping and snow removal, and like that's it, right? You're just basically rent collection, which is, I don't know, a couple hours a month, if that. So, but I understand completely, you if you want to free up your time, with $2,400 a month in cash flow, there's lots of room to do that. And I think your time is, worth money if you want to enjoy it.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
So that,
that's something, sorry, Paul, to cut
yeah,
you
go
off.
ahead.
Like that's definitely something that I will think about doing. The main reason I haven't is because I did these back to back. I was
Hmm.
out in Niagara dealing with the second property and getting the contractors and doing all of that stuff anyway. So yeah, I didn't see that. I mean, it was easy for
It
me
made
to
sense.
go and manage the other one if I was out there. So, but it's definitely something. Originally, like when we projected this, I didn't think there'd be the cash flow to do that. So okay, I'm going to manage, the
Yeah.
first few projects and see where we go. But now that they've been cash flowing the way that they have, definitely
Yeah,
it's
it
an
works.
option. Yeah.
Yeah, like I have a few more comments, but if anyone has any questions, pop them in the chat or unmute yourself, whatever you want. I would just say, when the next time, whenever you're ready to, make another purchase again, and not that I'm saying you're going to buy two at the same time again, but if you did and you have a big project, then you can put a property manager there and not worry about it and focus on the project, right?
Mm,
Maybe it's in a different area, maybe it's not, whatever it is. You know what I mean? So this is a great story. I mean, I should do this more often because like I have probably 200 of these stories of people just going out there, figuring out the goal, working backwards, figuring out what kind of property is going to get us toward there, and then actually doing it. You know what I mean? And I'm staring at Rob, and he just did the same thing.
mm.
I know Rasto asking a question about contractors. How did you find reliable contractors? I
Yeah.
don't know. Did you have the Australian mafia there hanging for you? Like, what was
So,
it?
so that's a good question because I've worked with contractors before and different projects on my own properties before, and you know, I pretty much I feel like there's been a lot of bridges blown with those contractors because for one reason or another, it didn't end well, and with this property, so my longtime friend of mine has some mates who are builders who I've known for quite a while, but I've never used them, and so I decided that I would use them and see how that goes. And I think some of it was budgetary, but I did get about five or six different estimates, and there are two pools of estimates. There's like off the chart insane high level, which I'm sure the quality and everything is there. But for me, it was just too um, like I needed to make both of these projects work, and I knew that like if I blow up one of them, if the budget just blows out on one of them, I'll be struggling. And so,
Yeah,
um, yeah, the other pool I went with they were similar, and so I decided to go with the guys that I know because I know where you live. I can chase up and annoy them. Like if the first one didn't work well, and then I also know if it does, this could be a longer term relationship going forward. So
yeah.
it's always a
Uh,
gamble, though. It is.
it is until you build a relationship. Yeah, it is. It always is. But that's the risk you get paid for in this business, right? So I
Yeah.
think it's worth it. Can a garden suite be built on the first property?
It can
Does
be
the
built on both.
city,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
currently allow garden suites?
this
Yeah.
was interesting because one of the high-end contractors, he came in and he was giving his quotes and everything, and then at some point in that process, he gave me a quote, and I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. You're like very far above everyone else here. And then it was a freak out moment because he suddenly said, I think there's development charges in Niagara Falls. And I think maybe there was at some point, but then I was starting to stress out, and he's like, you don't know about this? And and so very quickly, because I was working with architects to get a plan and an application in place who work with the city, and they started freaking out, saying, "What? There's development costs?" Because I guess they're doing the projects in the area, but right, we're right in Niagara Falls for these projects. And anyway, long story short, we found out that it wasn't the case, and not only wasn't it the case, that you are able to do three ADU, like have
Yeah.
three units on your properties with no development costs, which is great. So we can
So
do it.
most municipalities don't have development charges when you're going from one to two and two to three or one to three, up to three units. Beyond that, a fourth unit, I think there is development charges. I know there is in Hamilton, but so yes, Antonella, on this one, you can get a garden suite, and you would imagine that the cost of the garden suite is just like the basement quotes I found.
Yeah,
Like you get
Hmm.
guys that come in and they're like 350,000. And I'm like,
yeah,
what the are you talking about? Like, get out of here.
Yeah.
And then, you have other guys who are much more reasonable. But once you have like I did this on mine in Hamilton when I did my basement like 3 years ago. Like I put the plumbing and the electrical connection is already in the backyard because we broke the floor in the basement. And I'm like, guys, I have room to build a third suite. Just bring the electrical right out, cap it, bring the plumbing right out the drain, cap it. So
Mhm.
whenever I'm ready, like it's right there. So it's really not that bad. Like the way I would describe it to people, I would say it's going to be because of landscaping, probably in the 10 to 20% more than it would cost to build the same square footage in a basement, right? So if you're building, I don't know, a 650 square foot, you know, a basement apartment, and that costs you 100 grand, I'd budget, worst case, you know, 125-ish, maybe 130 for the garden suite. And there are people going to say I'm crazy, but I'm not. Like I'm telling you, if you have to do the connections, add 20 grand to that. But if the connections are already done because you did the duplex, you're literally building a slab and framing it up. Like it's not that bad at all, right? Not at all. Um, so anyway, that's a good question. So yeah, Matt can turn these into some real cash flow monsters if he wants to.
yeah. Like
Thanks.
original plan was this the garage here, but even if and the idea was to use the structure, but even if because there's a little bit of a patio, you can't really see here, but there's a little bit of a patio,
Hmm.
covered patio out the back here. But like we could build something there and have the entrance through the end of the yard here and
Yep.
completely separate it.
Yep.
Um, and so yeah, I think this is the most viable for that. And the other one, this was one of the reasons I didn't set up the plumbing for the other one. Also, where the plumbing comes under the ground, um, I use the same plumber for both, and there was a free wall there, so he said, it's not going to be much effort to put that extension in later, so I won't, I'm not going to charge you anything more than what I would have charged you if I had put it in there originally. So I said, okay, well then perfect, like we won't do it yet. We'll wait
Yeah.
and see
Exactly.
because we don't that one doesn't have the luxury of being on a corner either. So parking and widening that driveway and dealing with that is going to be some aspect of that reno if that
J- j-
happens.
just a note on garden suites, like from my perspective, and I think you raise a good point, like your lot and what it can accommodate, I think really should dictate what kind of unit you build in the garden suite. And I think most people want to treat it like a basement or like, oh, I want a two-bedroom garden suite. But in my mind, I'm like, why would you want like more than one, maybe two people renting a unit in your backyard. I'm I think I would prefer if it was me, and it's just totally my personal perspective here, to build something a little bit smaller, like nothing bigger than a one bedroom. And ideally just have one human in the backyard. Because then you're right, Ryan, Matt, you run into problems with parking. Like how many parking spots can you put on your property? Like realistically. You
Mm,
know, if you already have two, like a bungalow back to back, and you carve out a third one on the front yard, like that's as much as you're gonna get. If it's me, I'm trying to keep it nice and lean, build a nice, cozy one bedroom as cheap as possible, and get maximum rents for a one bedroom. You know what I mean? And especially on a property like this, like, yeah, you're going to have back to back up on the concrete driveway. You're going to carve out a spot in the grass there, you know?
mm,
Yeah, exactly. So that's three spots. And, if you're going to use the garage, for example, as a garden suite, I'm making that into no more than a one bedroom, and I'm going to try and rent that to somebody. And I put the landscaping, minimum landscaping in the back so they can't see anybody and they're not connecting. And I'm trying to rent to somebody who doesn't even have a car, ideally, right? But if you have a two-bedroom unit, guaranteed they're going to have a car, right? Guaranteed. So I think just the thought to think about. I mean, only one of my clients has built a garden suite, or two, myself and uh, somebody else. So they're not prevalent yet, but I think it's going to start coming in the next kind of wave we get. We're going to be looking for more ways to make cash flow, and I think that's an excellent way. Does anyone
so
have more questions for Matt?
while they're thinking of a question, I just wanted to say, in the see the big space behind this particular property.
Mm,
So apparently, so I've recently learned that a developer has bought that, like owns that, and a couple of properties just further down as well. And I guess like depending on the time frame or whether this is something that I'm going to do or think about doing like much further down the track. Like I guess when you've got a big lot and if there's a lot of higher density stuff happening, I guess there's also an option to just, change the entire type of um property like on this lot, right? At some point. I mean,
hmm
if it's a long-term thing, if not, I'm not thinking about putting the ADUs on yet or anytime, you know,
Yeah.
near future. But unless it, there's also those opportunities, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Who knows what comes in the future? Um, so thanks for doing this, Matt. Appreciate it. If anyone has any more questions, feel free to pop them in. We got a couple minutes left. If not, then I'll wish you guys a good evening. And my final message to everybody is like, even though the news is sideways about real estate and there's more negative stories than there are positive, it doesn't mean you can't make money. In fact, that's the best time to go out there and do it. When people are scared and fearful. And that was my main message to everybody here. And I didn't want to put that in the front of the presentation so it doesn't feel salesy, but like guys and gals, like if you're sitting there, especially if you're sitting on cash and waiting to do something, I mean, I don't know what more you could ask for. And it doesn't have to be a renovation project like Matt did. There are other ways that we're making things work. Devon, the pastor, he bought stuff that was already done. So imagine Matt would sells his property 5 years from now. He bought two properties almost next door to each other that were already completely converted into duplexes because he didn't have the time with Bible study and God knows whatever else he's doing as a pastor. He didn't have the time. He's got a family and he just wants to cash flow today, immediately. And he's doing it and he's doing well with it. Right. So we'll hear that story in a little while. So Matt, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you sharing the
No
story
worries.
and you did an awesome job presenting and you did an awesome job with your properties and you deserve all the results, my friend.
Thanks, man.
Okay,
Thanks,
boys.
everyone.
And thanks, everybody. Have a good night. You know how to reach me if you have any questions or need any help. Talk soon.
Bye.